Some people think I don't like hunters. I don't. That's it. Anyhow, welcome to the video. Today I am talking about Revenant, that is Stasis Hunter, and Stasis's place in today's meta. If you pay attention to the trusty tier list, this is ballpark where I would have placed classes before the nerf. As you see, Top Tree Dawnblade is on top, of course, with Behemoth and Revenant. All three of those share the same traits. They have amazing movement, amazing neutral game, and an amazing super with little to no drawbacks. You'll notice that I also have an addendum tier called Still S, but only if degenerate. And what that means is that if $5 million is on the line for you to win the next game of Destiny, Trials of Osiris, whatever, the easiest, most effective way to do it is to not approach and build a super. Or with Shadebinder, you get an incredible neutral game, no movement, and an incredible super. So it does tip the scale, especially if you play with an all stasis team using the fragment aspect combos that build off of each other. That's what I mean by degenerately. You're going to sit in the back of the map, sword hilt, third person, only push with turrets and picks, only push with overshields, that kind of thing. It's extremely boring to play this way in a lot of people's opinions, so you don't see it that often. But when push comes to shove, it is far easier to build a proper Chaos Reach build, which is why you see it so often in Trials, because people are simply playing for the loot. So to recap what makes an S tier contender, they have to have excellent movement, an excellent neutral game, and an excellent super, as well as maybe an X factor of having good team play, and or in the case of Shadebinder and Chaos Reach, while they may not have all three, the one part that they specialize in is the best in the entire game. So it does tip them to S, but only if they play degenerately. And I swear, every time I bring this up, when I say degenerately, it is not an insult. Almost look at it as a compliment. That means you're playing so perfectly that no one wants to play against you. That's really what that means. I'm not insulting you. That is just how it's always been explained in games, especially fighting games. In short, degenerately means that you have essentially solved the game and it's just very boring to get to the win condition. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Hunter Revenant. As you see in the background, I just picked up an overshield for hitting a shuriken, and this was the build that I initially chose while I was playing my 10-hour stasis post-nerf PvP session. My first impression was that the Hunter went from the best slowing class, one of the best neutral games, to now just solely having the best Hunter movement. And Shadebinder took the place of the best slow build. I tried to finesse and work around using team builds with Hunter where you collect overshield from your Titan's Glacier Grenade, but that just wasn't too realistic because you gave up so much in your neutral game. As you notice, I run a 10 intellect Hunter with as much strength as I can get because I used to lead with the shuriken to give me safe entry into a room. I'm happy to report that that's no longer a viable playstyle because the shuriken is so unlikely to hit. Stay with me here and listen to the whole sentence before you judge me. I think that the shurikens were over-nerfed. Yes, I know how annoying they were before the nerf. However, Top Tree Dawn still remains in its current state. So if we want to meet somewhere in the middle of where Top Tree Dawn is and where Stasis is now, the shurikens are effectively useless right now. So they do need some speed or some tracking. Bungie can experiment with exactly how much tweaking they have to do to make shurikens an effective build again. Previously, I used to run 10 intellect and as much strength as I could get because I would gambler's dodge near an opponent, get a shuriken, and lead every gunfight with the shuriken and also farm dynamo. So I would have one of the first supers, and every push that I did was safe because they were slowed into oblivion and couldn't react. So before the nerf, this was obviously overpowered, but so was Behemoth. It had movement so fast that realistic latency of online gaming could not keep up, and if someone decided to push forward on you using all the movement techniques of a Titan, you're not hitting them. Doesn't matter if you're the best shot in the game, it's impossible. I need to clearly paint this picture because every time I bring it up, someone says movement skill gap. It's not a skill gap to predictively decide when somebody is going to rubber band. It's random. You're not just going to jump your crosshair 15 feet ahead of them because you expect the game to get a temporary hitch because of the Titan movement. Like I described with the shurikens, the Titan movement was blatantly overpowered, so both of them needed to get hit. And I do think both of them got hit too hard. They can be upped ever so slightly to make them an option again. Because if we have things that are already just as strong, in the case of Titan being the overshield farming build, and in the case of Hunter, I'm about to describe the Shatter Dive build, Drewski's build, then I still think that we can up the options, especially if Top Tree Dawn is going to linger in its current state. So I just mentioned Drewski's Shatter Dive build. I highly recommend checking that out below so you can know exactly how to build that Hunter. Know that I have a extremely similar build, essentially copy and pasted, but with slight tweaks to mouse and keyboard. So go watch that video, then come right back here, and we're about to discuss the post-nerf tier list now that you have perspective for just how deadly a Revenant Hunter can be. Well, here it is, the post-nerf tier list. As you can see, Top Tree Dawn stands alone as the only kit where every part of it is as powerful as it can possibly be, especially emphasis on the movement. And I jokingly put a movement skill gap tier just to show the gap between Top Tree Dawnblade and other S tier options. Those are still S tier, but only if played degenerately. So Chaos Reach, you camp the super. Behemoth, you camp the overshield. And on Revenant, you camp the grenade. You pretty much never approach if you do not have a grenade. And if you do that, you can handle Top Tree Dawns. I would even argue that you can move Revenant up into that movement skill gap tier because you have Shatter Dive. Shatter Dive is the most obnoxious hunter ability that has ever existed because it makes already the best exotic even better. And I'm talking about Stompies. Let's look at some of this gameplay in the background as I post-commentate, and maybe that'll illustrate what I'm saying. So my hunter is hurt, I backpedal, look at the radar, dead giveaway, throw the Glacier Nade, Shatter Dive, dead. Alright, Shatter Dive's back, baby. So, hit the reload. I have a lightweight SMG to give me 10 mobility. I'm always jumping in the air looking for jump shots. The snipe's my biggest chunk damage, so that's what I want to lead with. I play mouse and keyboard, so I trust that this snipe is going to hit. Now, look at that. I'm going to repeat that in the background. Back-to-back Shatter Dive to get out of danger while keeping myself with the fastest forward momentum of the Stompy control jump. I think a lot of you out there undervalue Shatter Dive as a pure movement option. It's not for detonating grenades or getting rid of crystals or killing frozen targets. It is for being a pogo hunter, shooting them in the body with high impact weapons, and making it back to cover so that while you're in the animation of recovering from the Shatter Dive, one of your teammates can fly in and trade off. It's like Sword Art Online, where they keep switching and doing damage. Oh, but it could also be used to detonate grenades, as you see on screen. That Titan really had no business being that close to the crystals, bounce off the ceiling with Stompies, and delete a guy with the multi-mock. If you're good about using glaciers as platforms, then you want to use Revenant to snipe, and you absolutely can snipe. I just prefer to shotgun since the kit values shotgunning. You have that fast Stompy jump to get in and Shatter Dive to return. And I'm using an in-air accurate Heritage, that's a slug shotty, to just do chunk damage while my Shatter Dive gives me safety. And you're going to see something very filthy here, and I'll let the footage speak. Huh, is that a remaining crystal that gives me damage resistance just for being near it? Look how deep I'm about to be in this base, and I'm still getting damage resistance. How is this not S tier? And I promise you, this is not cherry picking. I go on entire play sessions without dropping a match if I intently play Stasis and abuse its kit. I totally get that people find it more fun to play light subclasses. They want a breath of fresh air. They may think it's more noble to play a light subclass. I get it. But when push comes to shove and you have to win a match, I think there is such an S tier contention for Stasis that you can't ignore it. For me personally, the sole possibility of using Shatter Dive as a movement option to boost my already good movement is all Stasis Revenant has to bring for me to want to use it over every hunter subclass that exists. There is one, maybe two exceptions that I'm going to talk about now. If you can create a team to specifically take advantage of Khepri Sting and the uptime that that can have, you throw a smoke at the floor, you get wall hacks, you get your opening pick, and you fly in. If you can build a team around that, I think you're going to find a lot of success, but it's very difficult to build around and get the proper stat splits where you're not feeling that your build is lacking someplace, somewhere. The other alternative, which is even harder to build, is a Shinobu's Vow, Arc Strider, Middle Tree, and then you Raiju's Harness swap. Again, this is one of those S tier if degenerately played, but it's even harder to build than everything else I've talked about, to where I don't even have these builds, and I play for build crafting. I play all the time. I hope that statement gives context to how I structured this tier list. Again, I sort of ballparked it just to get a video out here, but it is partly true. For example, look at Middle Tree Arcstrider on the B tier. That gets hard countered by Chaos Reach, which is the most prevalent class right now. So if in a future nerf Chaos Reach gets hit, specifically the super, then that means proxy-wise, Middle Tree Arcstrider rises in the tier list because it handles more of the available options. On a similar note, this is why you don't see Bubble as much. While Bubble does counter most of the tier list here, Chaos Reach counters Bubble, and Chaos Reach is more prevalent. So Bubble is down, even though it has really good matchups. Before Stasis was introduced, I used to play a lot of Code of the Commander. You see that in the C tier right now, and that can make a meteoric rise if Chaos Reach gets a slight nerf. Yeah, I really don't want to harp on the minutia of a tier list. I'm trying to talk about Revenant today, and I hope this video has given you some idea as to why I think it still belongs in the S tier. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section below. I will try to stream live on Twitch. Know that Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, that's the MMO that I play, is coming out on the 9th at 4 a.m. Eastern, and I will be grinding that relentlessly, so maybe I'll see you on Twitch. That's my PvE game of choice. Sorry Destiny, the difficulty really isn't doing it, but I still love Destiny. I think it's a very fun deck building game, and I love being able to play the PvP. The PvP is important to me, the balance is important to me, the sandbox is important to me, hence the video today. I don't really put any stock into PvE. Sometimes it wows me with a Grandmaster Nightfall, but for the most part, I get that fill in Phantasy Star Online 2, so if you were curious, that's why I play it. For the remainder of the video, I'm just going to post-commentate exactly what I'm thinking as I try to test out this Revenant kit with the adjusted Drewski build. So I'm using a Heritage just for fun. I do think it can be effective, but when you start playing good players, you hit less headshots and less shots in general, and their movement is too good, so you're putting yourself at a risk to not be able to trade out a one-shot. Here I'm using my Stasis Grenade as a zoning tool, trying to lure them into shotgun distance. The radar gives away exactly what's happening, so I need to create space. I'm looking for the headshot. I miss it, unfortunately, so I Shatter Die backward as he goes out wide. The Shatter Die gives me enough space to be able to kill him with no fear of dying. Up top, easy 3-tap, and I had no idea power ammo was about to hit me, so you take that death. That's totally okay. Now spawning up, I know this is a spawn trap. I physically see the person in front of me, radar confirms. I get a cleanup, I have Rampage, I start flying at the Hunter. I hit my head on the ceiling a little too hard, so aim went all over the place. I hit my body shot for chunk damage and Shatter Die back into safety. I missed the flick, I notice radar, someone's on my side. I'm trying to focus on the side guy more than that main fight, but I also want to put some damage in to make him back off. Now I take the side fight properly, try to farm a Rampage. He gets away, so I just go for the nade instead to give me some resist on my back, but end up ditching that strategy to go for the long-range headshot. Now I'm in my Crystal Fortress where I'm getting damage resistance, and if he pushes too close, I shatter it and he takes splash damage, which means that I ultimately only need to body him with the slug. Now I pick up extra kills, 1 bullet in the magazine. He doesn't know this though, so I want to still be in a position where I can take the fight if I need to, even if I can't follow up the kill. Just need to make him think I can. Easy shotgun melee cleanup. I don't have the ammo. I did not finish the reload. Trade out. That's perfectly fine. He's using a 140. That's what it's there for. Now in the spawn up, looking at the radar. Again, I know this is a spawn farm, so I'm being hesitant. He's coming up a little too fast. So control jump backwards and Shatter Die backwards. Double the space backwards. He can't keep up with it. If he was a little bit faster on the throwing knife, I think he could have hit me. But then again, I also could have used the dodge ability. And then Whirling Dervish, Tasmanian Devil, 360. And there's nothing he can do. It has to be a very lucky shot. In that moment when someone's frozen, you can decide exactly how to kill them. If, for example, I wanted to farm Killing Wind off of my shotgun to then proc my dodge, which then procs my grenade again. You can be thinking that far in advance with Stasis, and that's what separates a good Stasis player from a Stasis player who movement skill gap go burr. Again, follow what's happening on screen. Someone flies in, Shatter Dive catches them because it's an enhanced grenade, and look, there's a moment that the slug shotgun came in clutch. I don't have to get myself close because when he breaks out, that's a guaranteed trade with the shotgun. I edged that out. which means that Duality might be the best pick in the future for this kind of playstyle. Duality gives you both options and has somewhat good in-air accuracy, especially in the pellet mode. Let me know if this style of post-commentary makes sense. I think it's a little bit too fast. Live commentary, I'm mostly prime. Post-commentary, I'm mostly inform. This shotgun's so good. Holy shit, Shatter Dive. Holy shit, damage resistance. How was this not S tier?